so our animation's in pretty good shape. What I would like to do now is kind of make it my own. Right? Everybody's probably up to this point got something that's very similar. And so what I would like to do is try to customize it just a little bit. We got a little bit of customization in the texturing and like your placement of the camera and all of that. But let's look at a couple of other things we can do in terms of like scene decoration and some of the things I would like you to stay kind of limited to. Because you can get all sorts of assets all over the internet. And some of them you're allowed to use for free, and some of them you're not. And some of them are stolen from published video games and ripped from them. And so I would like you to keep your additional assets that you add to this as either things you've made yourself or things that you've gotten from one of these sites, and we'll talk about why. So the first one is the base mesh. The base mesh is a 100% free Creative Commons Zero license, and what Creative Commons Zero means is you're allowed to use it with no limitations. Right? It's the essentially public domain alternative, right? And you'll see that there's 1,250 right now. This continues to grow, and it's a lot of very simple objects, like an acoustic guitar, right? But it's just a mesh, right? It is just the model. So let's say for whatever reason I wanted an acoustic guitar. Let's find something that makes a little bit more sense. Something that maybe our alien is looking at with confusion. What would be on the moon? Oh, that would be fun. An arcade machine. But let's try something like, well, let's see what musical instruments we have. Yeah, a vintage horn. Here we go. So actually, let's make it the French horn. These are here. So you'll see that we have an option of FBX and OBJ and GLB. FBX and OBJ will go into Maya pretty smoothly. And so we can just click this little download button here. I'm just putting it in my downloads folder for right now. Oh, actually, let's go ahead and put it where our project is. So I'll go to miscellaneous work, and then mine is under Rocket. And I'm just going to put this under assets right now, and that's just so I have like a place to save that. Go ahead and open up that folder so I can see it. 7-zip, extract all. And what I want to put in there is probably the FBX file. So I can actually drag and drop that file in here. Oh, there we go. And it's actually really huge, which could be kind of fun to play with. Like what if there was just a giant horn floating in space out here, right? But instead, let's just go ahead and just scale this down, make it maybe make this what our alien is looking at. Right? I can move this over here. Oh, this could be a fun thing to play with, because it could be something that should be really large, but we are seeing a very small version of it, which implies that the alien is actually a different scale than we might have thought. But let's try something like this, right, and just place it in here. Now, the first thing you're going to notice, no materials on it. So we're still going to have to material these objects. Let's rotate it around here. Right. So I'll still have to create some materials for this object, but now, mine is really that far off. I think I am. It's a little bit more in the alien's line of sight. Can modern it. And so now I have this horn setting here that now becomes part of the story. And I'd apply a material to it, maybe make it a bronze color or something like that. And so I'll probably do that before I'm done with it. The other thing is, I keep thinking in shot two, it's kind of an empty area, right? So some of those other places where you could find objects that I'm going to allow for this project is Polyhaven. And again, this is because Polyhaven is releasing these as Creative Commons Zero. So let's talk about what that means. You create something and you own the copyright to that thing because you created it, which means if someone else wants to use it, you have to give them permission. Creative Commons, and you can give them permission by selling them that permission, right? And that's like if you go to something like Turbo Squid or CG Traders, where you can buy models, they're giving you permission to do that, right? They're giving you permission to use it because you're giving them money. You're also allowed to give away, or there's ways you can give away things and say, you're allowed to use this, but you have to credit me if you do, right, as the artist. And that's called the Creative Commons. And there's different versions of Creative Commons. So some Creative Commons, you're only allowed to use it for educational purposes, not for anything commercial, meaning if you sell it, you're violating copyright. The most free version of this is Creative Commons Zero. So I think that the base mesh and Polyhaven has a good amount of resources that are free to use and relatively high quality. So I want to encourage you to stick to these websites. Now, there's lots of places out there where you can get free models, and some things are free because they're garbage. And I think that that's what a lot of those sites have. If you search Turbo Squid for just the free stuff, you may find something good. You may also find something that's just not a good model, and that's why it's free. And so I would encourage you that while you're still developing your own skills at this, don't make your work look bad by importing in somebody else's bad work. These are pretty good, and so the models here on Polyhaven, like maybe this TV on the moon, or on this other planet, that could be funny, right? But they also have some nature elements in here, and these come with materials, and they're not always going to be perfect, right? But let's say like these rocks, right? Just a set of rocks. This rock here. It comes with not only the rock itself, but also all the materials for it. And so you could download 2 or 3 rocks and use that to build a little bit more of a terrain area that looks more realistic, right? Or again, maybe this isn't the moon. Maybe this is just another planet and you want to download a tree to put in there, right? And there's nothing that actually says this has to be on this terrain. This could be in the middle of Manhattan, right? If you decide you want to model Manhattan. There are a couple other places that you can find some pretty good resources, including NASA. NASA creates 3D models for a lot of things, and they have been for years. So this is actually where I got the Apollo 15 landing site. I think it's this one right here that we're using for the shot. And what I will show you with this is it's an STL file. Let's find another one. This is a good example here. This is a GLB file. So let's go ahead and download that. And if I tried to drag and drop this GLB file into Maya, I'm going to get an error. I get this red error that pops up that says no translator found. That means that Maya doesn't have the importer information for how to import a GLB file. I think it might have an STL, but we can see if we go to import and choose our options box here on the file type, we can see the different files that Maya is going to be able to use. SVG files, Alembic files, OBJ files. It recognizes those, but without an additional plugin, it doesn't recognize GLBs or STLs. Sometimes Blender can, but so if you have Blender installed, you can use that as a way to import that. But one of the other things you can do is you can actually just, what did I just download? It was a GLB file. Just try searching GLB to FBX. And this Convert 3D Models website, there's several of them out there. Convert 3D Models actually works pretty well. So I can select my 3D model file. I'm going to go, let me just get my location of that again. Assets, Control C. Select 3D model. And that is it right there. And now I can download the FBX. And so once that FBX is done, I can import the FBX into Maya. Great. Now, what I will tell you about these is they're going to require some work. Like they are not. These do not have up to date materials. Right? This is very basic materials on this object. It's probably not going to render very well. In fact, if I rendered it right now, I'm pretty sure it's going to render like glass. It's going to render very shiny. I hope I killed Maya here. Let's see. There we go. Right. And it's because most of these materials, if I go look at them, are anisotropic materials, which is not it's actually a Phong. I don't know why it's saying it's an anisotropic. And so you have this reflectivity option here, and you can turn that down. And that might help a little bit, right? And do this with each of those individual objects. And you may be able to use this to turn down the reflectivity on everything, and then push this off into space here somewhere in the background, so we can see it floating around in our shot too. Just have it kind of drifting through space, maybe, right? What I'm going to do instead. So anyway, let me go back to that and show you. So NASA has, and I'll link this in the D2L site, but NASA has a bunch of models you can find here on their website, but they also have a GitHub repository where people have been storing tons and tons of 3D models. And these are free to use because honestly, we are the ones that paid for it. The taxpayer money goes to creating these things. NASA is a public organization, so the things that they create have limited use for everyone. It's knowledge that's intended to benefit the civilization, not necessarily a company. With that being said, you can't monetize this. You can't go out and make a video game and say, I downloaded all these assets from NASA and now I'm going to make a video game and make a profit off of it. So these are free to use. Actually, if we go back to NASA 3D resources, they will explain the usage guidelines in here. So for right now, you're wanting to use this for educational purposes, and you are covered for that. There's one last thing. There's another public project called Solar System Scope, and it's really cool. It's a web application, but also one you can download that'll let you explore the solar system and see a lot of different things. And so I can click on Earth or Venus and zoom into the sun. I can expand out from here and see explore exoplanets. So let's look at Venus, right? And so they have used some NASA images and some other resources to develop a lot of these tools. Well, all the way down here at the bottom, they've made some of this free. or some of their assets free. So they have a section here for textures, and they have already unwrapped a lot of pretty useful texture maps, including the Milky Way sky here. Star maps, if you decide you want to use a different star map than the one that I used. These are interesting. They're calling these fictional planets. They're not actually fictional. Eris is a real dwarf planet that is out in the Kuiper Belt. We just don't have any pictures of it. We know stuff about it, but we don't have any pictures of it. And so, or not like this closer pictures. And so this is them generating images of what they think it might look like. This is what they think series might look like. Right? I can maybe let's do Mars. I'm going to download Mars here. Actually, I want to do that differently. Right click. Okay, I guess if I download it this way, right click, save image as. And I'm going to go ahead and save this in my source images. Save. Right. And then here I can go to polygon modeling and create me a sphere. And I'm going to move this way back in the distance here and maybe make it much, much bigger. Actually, let's do this from perspective view so I get a better idea of how far away this is. Let's do something like this. Scale it up. So now if I render cam 2, there it is. Move it up to somewhere like this. Turn around. And I'm just going to, again, assign a new material to this. So I'm going to create a new Arnold shader surface, AI standard surface, right? And then going to select that. As our standard surface, we'll call this Mars mat. And so up here I can find Mars mat, right click, assign material to selected, and I can do the rest of this over here in this viewport. I'm just going to map my color into a file and choose my 8K Mars. And so now I have Mars up here in my on my planets, right? And again, if I were to render this, there's probably a lot of stuff that is not exactly right. So from my render view, hit play. I want to do this from render cam 2, but we'll give it a second. Come on, don't walk up on me. There we go. Wrong angle. Let's do cam 2. And I can't really see Mars at all. It's because there's no light on it. I don't think we have any light shining there, which is probably going to be an issue too as our spaceship flies off here. Does it have enough light on it as well, right? So I may want to play around with my final lighting. Like maybe this is too much light on the ground here. I'm not for sure. One of the other things I might want to do is with this Mars material here. I may take my specular all the way down and then go down here to emissive, which is emission right here. Turn my emission up and remap in there. Actually, let's not do it that way. I'll show you. In my hypershade with Mars mat graphed out here. So I right click on Mars mat, say graph material. You'll see here's my Mars color. I can also map that color into emission color. And so now I have Mars up there glowing, right? And I can and I also have it as my base color. And so I can turn down that emission amount a little bit so it's not emitting quite as much. Right? It can be and that what that implies is like the sun is shining on it. And it could be a mix between some emission and an additional light that I put out here in space. So let's try duplicating this one. But Control D. I'm going to rotate this all the way around here. Scale it up really big. And then what I can do is render cam 2, like render view. So you get a little bit of extra light in there. If I start cranking the intensity of that light up, maybe that feels a little bit more realistic. Right? And then again, I can always grab my moon here and cut the emission back down if it's too much or if I need more. So there's lots of things we can do with this to make it feel more believable. The other thing I think I would do is maybe angle this light down just a little bit more. And that's that's actually the angle of it here, where our spaceship flies by and it's not capturing it. It's because it's not capturing the light. We need to back it up a little bit more and repaint it upward a little bit more. That's maybe too much. Maybe I do that differently. Maybe I add an additional light in there just for the ship. So just keep playing around with it. We've learned a lot of things in this project, and that means you can also continue to add to this and make it your own. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully you have some cool ideas of what you'd like to add to this. I'm going to keep working on mine, and you will probably end up seeing this as part of the example file. There is another couple of things I'm going to show you, because right now our ship does not have any flames or propulsion coming out of the bottom. And I'm also going to give you some options on how to make this project a little bit more, not completely, but a little bit more applicable for people who want to do it in 2D. So I'll show you some of that here in the next few videos as optional videos for people who would prefer to do some of these elements in 2D.